Hey everybody, it's Barbara Ireland here. Since so many of you responded to my recent Facebook post about mind loops and how to interrupt them and change them quickly, I decided to make this video for you. So mind loops are those repetitive, self-defeating, self-limiting thoughts that loop around in our heads over and over. And they can damage our self-esteem and our self-confidence, and they can block our ability to earn money and have success in our career, and they can definitely get in the way of really healthy, awesome relationships. And as I mentioned in my Facebook post, I was introduced to mind loops in a rather unique way. I was at this camp where I was, you're supposed to test your boundaries, and I tested mine a little too far, and I had a very intense near-death experience. And during this long 5-hour ordeal, I was shown these little movies of my life, and each one illustrated how my thoughts were interfering with my relationships and my goals and my overall joy. So after I decided to come back from the brink, so to speak, I dove headlong into studying everything I could about neuroscience and brain biology, psychology, spirituality, anything I could get my hands on that would help me understand more what mind loops were and how to quickly interrupt them. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 extremely powerful techniques. They are distancing, detaching techniques, and they're also really simple. And they're going to help loosen the grip and intensity of negative thought, habitual thought. They've really helped me separate myself from my negative thoughts. And when you start implementing them, you're going to start noticing so much more flow and joy in your life and your relationships, and just kind of feeling relief. So before I get into the techniques, I want to talk to you a little bit about this insanely cool brain science that's out there right now that's just been astounding me, because it's going to help you understand how these techniques work. There's one aspect in particular that just blows me away. It's called self-directed neuroplasticity. And the basic idea of it is that whatever you put your awareness and focus on, your brain starts prioritizing and says, this is important, and it starts creating new brain circuits around it. So you can literally rewire your brain and change the way you think and change the internal negative dialogue just by choosing differently what you put your focus on. And the way this works is through neural pathways. And neural pathways are just brain wiring, like in the wiring in a house. And the more you repeat something and focus on something, the stronger those neural pathways get. So as an illustration about how this works, let's say you're going for a hike. You go to your normal hiking spot, you take your trail, it's nice and clear, everything's cool. That's your normal, usual way of thinking. But let's say you go to the same hiking spot and you go, hey, looks kind of cool over here. I wonder what's over on this area. There's no path there. So you start bushwhacking your way through, and you're moving logs, and you see all these cool animals, and there's these berries to pick that no one's ever seen before, and you're like, wow, this area is kind of cool. I want to come back here. So the next day you come back and you kind of see that area where you bushwhack through. It's not really a clear formed trail yet, but you go through it and you see even more animals and you're just loving it. And you say, I'm going to keep coming back here. So every day you keep coming back here and you keep going on this new path that you're creating. And here's the magic. While you go on this path, your new path, it gets stronger and clearer, while the old path, the old trail, starts getting overgrown and it starts disappearing. So this is the same with how our brain works. So let's say that we are saying to ourselves over and over, thinking, I'm not smart enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'll never make that amount of money, I can't ever lose this weight, or I'm just so tired all the time. You know, as we're thinking and saying these things over and over, we're actually physically solidifying those neural pathways in our brains, and we're turning them into really strong negative mind loops. Just the same way as we kept going on that trail, making that new trail, or the old trail, either way. But these neural pathways can be replaced with supportive thoughts, just like we replaced the hiking trail. Now, obviously, this is a really huge topic, so I'm going to cover just one main aspect of it in this video, which is actually the second step in the system I use for myself. And just so you know, the first step is awareness, because many of us don't even know we're looping at all, and many mind loops are unconscious, and we can't change what we're not aware of. But I have some very tricky ways of getting at those hidden little nasty mind loops and helping us become aware of them so we can change them. But for now, let's just work on the mind loops that you already know you have.
The name game. The name game.
Okay, so your first technique is called the name game. And it's all about becoming aware of your thoughts and your feelings and your experiences as they're happening to you, and then just naming them. Naming them allows you to step outside of the experience and be able to see things more objectively and not feel so caught up in them. So for instance, let's say you're in that state of overanalyzing, or maybe you're repeatedly worrying about someone or something, or you're just stuck in some kind of negative thought. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to say to yourself, hey, hold on a second. That's me looping again. You're naming the thought process looping. Or you might say, hold on, I know that. That's worrying again. Or that's overanalyzing. Or that's what-ifing. If you do that, what if I do this? What if I do that? One of those. So naming the experience or the thought or the feeling automatically pulls you out of it. When you first start doing this, it can be easy to slip right back into a mind loop. So to intensify the detachment and kind of ground yourself, I'm going to have you take a deep breath through your nose while you're doing the naming process, and that's going to bring you back to the present immediately, and your breath actually rebalances your whole nervous system. So really feel the breath, get connected to the present moment. And another way to play this name game is to actually name the physical sensations you're having. So let's say, for instance, you're feeling anxious. You can name the separate physical sensations like, okay, rapid heartbeat, dizziness, tight stomach, shallow breathing, and then name the entire group of sensations as false body messages. So when you're feeling anxious, you're going to name those and then say false body messages. Okay, so your action step is to become aware of your thoughts and feelings and experiences as they're happening to you as best as you can, and then name them. And by the way, you can get as creative as you want with this naming process. You can add some humor to those names, as long as they're accurate. Or you could use strange voice that you get to say in your head, like, a robot, mind looping, or it could be Mae West. I mean, imagine before you're about to give a speech and you're getting all anxious and you hear this Mae West voice go, sweaty palms. That sounds so bad. I think adding humor wherever we can, especially when you're feeling kind of crummy, that's always good. And don't forget to breathe.
Change your POV.
Have you ever heard that great quote by Einstein? We can't solve our problems with the same thinking that created them. Well, let's get out of that same thinking, shall we? So to describe the change your POV technique, I'm going to go back to when I was a filmmaker. And when I would write scripts, I would notate where the camera would be viewing the action from. And I'd say POV, and that means point of view. So for this second technique, we're going to actually move our perception from one point of view to another one. And that's going to help you gain access to greater insights and resources to help solve problems. There are three primary POVs that we view the world from. And as we shift our perception between the different POVs, our whole experience of the world changes. First person POV is your normal state. It's when you're seeing and hearing and experiencing everything like you normally do from your own eyes and your own body. And whenever you're stuck in a problem, you are in first person POV. The second person POV is when you, as I say, step into another person's shoes. And whenever you're experiencing any kind of conflict with another person, this is extremely useful because it takes you out of your own perception, allows you to see the conflict from another angle, their angle, and it just kind of naturally elicits compassion and understanding and opens your heart, really, and leads you towards wanting to work things out. Now, for mind loops in general, the third person POV is amazing. The third person POV is known as the neutral observer. And this is when you're being taken out of the situation altogether and you're just observing it. It's like you're being, or you and another person, if they're involved, you're being projected up onto a movie screen. And you're just watching the situation from the seat in the audience. And from this angle, it's really hard to access that really intense negative emotion. It's so distanced. You're just seeing things from a much bigger picture, and greater insights and better reasoning can actually start coming through. Okay, so here's your action step. Whenever you're stuck in a mind loop, switch out of first person POV and into the second or the third POVs. As soon as you do that, you're not going to feel so overwhelmed and consumed by the situation. You're actually going to be seeing the issue from all these different angles. And so new insights are going to be able to come to you almost immediately.
Abracadabra. I wanna reach out and grab you.
Okay, so your third technique is abracadabra, change your words. Words contain hidden power. So how you express and talk about your experiences, either in your head or to other people, can either create joy and confidence, or it can create frustration and anger and sadness and mind loops. Even when you're expressing basically the same sentence, if you shift just a subtle piece, like a word or two in that sentence, it can make all the difference. Okay, so consider how these two similar sentences feel different in your body and evoke different responses. Okay, I have a really big problem versus I have a really big challenge. Challenge lends itself to curiosity and empowers you to figure out ways to confront the situation and handle it. Whereas the word problem has this really static quality, and it just takes all your power out of the situation. It makes you feel overwhelmed. Here's another one. I can't do that. Versus, I couldn't do that in the past, but I know I can learn how to do it. Obviously, the first one is a proclamation of inability and disempowerment completely, whereas the second one, there's a sense that you have some ability, and at least, there's movement in it. You can figure out a way to make it work. Also, it's more truthful, by the way. Okay, a couple more. Here's one. That'll never work. Versus, let's see how we can make this work. And here's another. I have to do this. Versus, I choose to do this. There's a really big difference, and yet you're kind of saying the same thing. But you can kind of feel the difference, right? Okay, so here's your action step for the third technique. Start becoming really aware of what words and phrases you use in your daily life, both in your head, as you're talking to yourself, and as you're talking with other people and in your relationships. And look at them as if you're a scientist, And you're just observing, because we don't want to judge them, because when we start judging, it's going to be counterproductive. So just casually look at them, and you're going to look for some insights. You're going to ask yourself, are these phrases and words supportive to me? Are they supportive to my relationships? Are they supportive to my life? Or can they be more supportive? And if so, reword them. And actually, if you write them down, it's even more powerful, because the way we speak is so habitual and unconscious. Being able to see them written down is going to help get it into your head. And also the act of writing itself helps solidify them into your memory. So that's your action step for this one. So those are the 3 powerful distancing techniques that I wanted to give you. And the next time you feel a mind loop coming on and you work those techniques, you're going to feel a shift. And before I go, I want to add one more awesome technique. It has nothing to do with distancing, but it increases joy overall. So I love it.
Bonus Ninja Anti-Mind Loop Technique.
Okay, so maybe that was a bit of a potent title for this one, but I think it's pretty ninja. So here it is. Start your day with minimum just 3 minutes of closing your eyes and bringing in the feeling of appreciation into your body. So either you feel what it feels like to be appreciated by someone, or you yourself are appreciating someone or something else. And if it helps to picture a scenario or a person or maybe a pet or something that gives you this feeling of appreciation, go ahead and do that, but it's not necessary. Sometimes you just call it in and suddenly you start feeling appreciation. It's really cool. And this is why it's so ninja, because this tiny technique alone can shift you right out of a negative mindset. Or if you're in a neutral, kind of normal mindset, it can totally lift you up into real joyful feeling. And if you start in the morning, set your day up like crazy. And these little mini appreciation moments can be done very quickly throughout the day. I'm telling you, this makes a really huge difference. And even if it's not your kind of thing, you don't normally do this kind of thing, just give it a try. What can it hurt? See how you feel. I really hope this video has been valuable for you. I know these techniques work. They've been tremendously helpful in my life, and I really hope they are in yours too. So give it a try. See what happens. Let me know. I really do want to know. And I'd also love to hear your thoughts on this video in general. So please leave some comments below the video. I very much appreciate that. And if you have any friends you think could benefit from this information, please share it with them. My mantra these days is change your loops and you change your world. And I really believe that. So let's go change some loops. And I'm Barbara Ireland. Thanks for watching.